Confidence tank. Oh!
8 seconds. That is the golden dream. But here, we are not talking about glory, but about true nightmares on 4 legs. Moments when the strength of a bull, a bad fall, or just a single fraction of a second of bad luck turns into tragedy in the arena. It is not just a sport. It is a battle against gravity, pain, and the wild instinct of an animal that does not understand second chances. Number 1. Jorge Valdivieso.
South Dakota, Jorge Valdivieso ready to go. Lieutenant Dan, he's in trouble. Gonna pay the price too. Ooh. Oh boy, look out, he got...
Jorge Valdivieso was no rookie. He had spent years in the arenas facing the toughest bulls, but that day luck decided to turn its back on him. The bull he drew had a fearsome reputation, explosive out of the gate, unpredictable in its spins, and with brutal power in its hindquarters. As soon as the chute gate opened, the animal shot out like a bullet, combining extremely high jumps with tail whips that threatened to rip the rider from the mount. Jorge held on for the first seconds, tightening his legs and free arm, but a sharp turn to the left threw him off balance. He lost control of his body and flew off as if catapulted. The blow against the dirt was hard, but not final, until the bull turned back on him. One of its front hooves came down with full weight on Jorge's torso, crushing his ribcage. The rodeo clowns ran to distract the animal, putting themselves between it and the fallen rider, but the damage was done. Several fractured ribs, a pulmonary contusion, and an internal bruise that made it hard to breathe. He was evacuated quickly as the crowd watched in silence. His recovery was slow and painful, and although he returned to compete, every time he heard the pounding of a bull approaching, he relived that moment when he was seconds away from not making it out alive. Number 2. Ned Cross. Ned Cross had a reputation for staying firm in the most dangerous situations. But that bull knocked him off the unbreakable list in the blink of an eye. The start was violent, with a first jump so high it seemed both were suspended in the air before crashing down with a thud that echoed across the arena. Ned tried to anticipate the next move, but the bull turned sharply and threw him forward as if trying to launch him directly under its hooves. And it succeeded. Ned landed right in front of the animal, and before he could move, he received a brutal shove that sent him rolling across the dirt. It was not just one hit. The bull pushed him several meters, shoving him with its muzzle and front legs as if he were a lifeless doll. The clowns did everything possible to drive the animal away, and when they finally managed it, Ned lay motionless, breathing heavily, with a stabbing pain in his entire right side. X-rays confirmed several broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, and muscle damage in his neck. The worst part, however, was the downtime, months away from the arena, watching others compete in his place. His return was an act of pure will, but always with the indelible mark of that fall. Number 3. Caden Bunch. Facing a bull is already an enormous challenge, but when the animal is known as impossible to read, the tension before leaving the chute is almost unbearable.
The number 1 man this season is down.
That is what Caden Bunch experienced. He knew the bull could jump, spin, or even change direction at any moment, and that a single mistake could cost him the season. Or worse. When the gate opened, the bull shot out, kicking its hind legs with such violence that it nearly ripped him off the back in the first second. Caden clung with his entire body, bending his knees to absorb the impact, but the second jump was even higher, followed by a tight spin that threw him to one side. He landed on his left shoulder and barely had time to bring his hands to his head before the bull turned and rammed him directly. The hit lifted him a few inches off the ground and threw him back onto the dirt, causing sharp pain in his chest. The doctors confirmed rib fractures and a severe sprain in his left knee, along with multiple bruises, but the psychological blow was just as harsh. After that day, Caden admitted his confidence had been shaken. He spent weeks training with less aggressive bulls before daring to compete again at the highest level. Number 4. James William Harris. James William Harris was known for his aggressive style and his ability to read a bull even in the middle of the action. That skill had saved him dozens of times, but the day he faced one of the most temperamental animals on the circuit, things went wrong in the worst way. As soon as the chute gate opened, the bull shot out like a missile, launching a combination of jumps and spins that defied physics. Harris stayed focused, trying to anticipate each move, but one particularly tight spin made him lose his balance. His riding hand became trapped in the rope, preventing him from letting go. It was the start of a nightmare. The bull kept jumping while dragging Harris, slamming his body against the dirt again and again. The rodeo clowns rushed in to rescue him, but every second that passed increased the risk of serious injury. They finally freed him, but not before Harris suffered multiple rib fractures, a dislocated shoulder, and a severe head trauma. The doctors could not believe he had stayed conscious throughout the ordeal. His return to the arena took months, and although he competed again, he admitted that this was the only incident that truly made him consider quitting rodeo forever. Number 5. Jared Craig. Jared Craig had always been a technical, methodical, and extremely disciplined competitor. On the day of his accident, he seemed to have total control, until he did not. The bull he drew was not particularly known for being dangerous, but sometimes the real risk lies in the unexpected. In the first seconds, Craig stayed in perfect sync with the animal, anticipating its moves and adjusting his center of gravity precisely. But suddenly, the bull made a lateral jump that broke the pattern. Jared had no time to adjust and was thrown to the side, landing directly under the hind legs. The impact was brutal. The bull's hoof struck his lower back, causing a lumbar injury that left him motionless for several seconds. The paramedics rushed in immediately, immobilizing his spine to prevent further damage. Later tests revealed a fractured vertebra and severe muscle damage. His recovery was slow and painful, marked by long physiotherapy sessions. Although he managed to return to competition, he did so with a more defensive style, prioritizing safety over risk. That accident taught him that even the less dangerous bulls can become a deadly threat. Number 6. Frank Newsom. Frank Newsom was not just any cowboy. He was one of the most respected rodeo clowns, tasked with protecting fallen riders and distracting the bull to prevent serious injuries. Ironically, his worst accident happened while trying to save someone else. During an intense competition, a rider was thrown dangerously, landing right in front of the bull. Without thinking twice, Newsom ran toward the animal to put himself in the way. He managed to get its attention, but in the process, the bull rammed him with tremendous violence, lifting him off the ground as if he were a rag doll. The hit sent him flying several meters, and before he could get up, the bull came back at him, delivering a second blow that knocked him unconscious. The crowd fell silent as the medical teams ran into the arena. Newsom suffered fractures in his jaw, several broken ribs, and a severe concussion. Even so, months later, he was back in the arena, showing that his commitment to protecting others was stronger than any personal fear. His accident remains one of the most remembered, not only because of the violence of the moment, but because of the bravery that caused it. Number 7. Eduardo Aparecido.
Been in the championship round a lot this season.
Oh boy. Oh no, ran him over.
The Brazilian Eduardo Aparecido is known for his brave style and his ability to stay firm on extremely aggressive bulls. However, even the best have days when luck vanishes in a matter of seconds. At the start, the bull launched a series of tight spins that put Eduardo's balance to the test. He held on longer than anyone would have expected, but at a critical moment his hand slipped on the rope and he lost his position. He was thrown forward, falling right into the path of the bull's front legs. The impact on his shoulder was so strong that it was displaced from its socket, while a second hit to his leg caused a severe muscle injury. The rescue teams quickly pulled him from the arena while the crowd applauded him out of respect. Although his physical recovery took months, the mental one was even more complicated. Eduardo himself admitted that, for a while, every time a bull spun sharply, his body tensed, remembering that moment. However, he came back stronger, determined not to let a bad fall define his career. Number 8. Derek Kolbaba.
Get around, kid, let's go!
Derek Kolbaba is one of those riders who seem made of steel. His ability to read a bull's behavior and react in milliseconds had earned him a place among the best. However, his encounter with a particularly unpredictable bull became one of the most talked about and feared moments of his career. As soon as the gate opened, the bull shot out with a combination of vertical jumps and diagonal spins that gave no respite. Derek held firm for the first few seconds, but a sudden change of direction caught him completely off guard. He was thrown forward and, in mid-air, one of the bull's horns struck him in the lower abdomen. The pain was instant and crushing. When he hit the ground, he could barely breathe. Doctors discovered that he had suffered internal bleeding and a severe injury to the pelvic area. He spent weeks in the hospital, and his recovery was slow and meticulous. Despite the severity of the accident, Derek returned to compete, proving that for him, retirement was not an option. Number 9. Leandro Zampolo.
Well, look, the last 6 seconds were to build up the confidence. Oh, no, to build up the confidence tank of Zampolo.
Leandro Zampolo from Brazil was recognized for his risky style and his ability to stay on bulls that others simply couldn't control. His accident happened in an important championship, where he was just one perfect ride away from taking first place in the ranking. The assigned bull wasn't the most famous for being dangerous, but it had an erratic movement pattern that could complicate any strategy. Leandro resisted the first few seconds masterfully, but at a critical moment the bull made a reverse spin and threw him backward. His left leg briefly got caught in the rope, dragging him several meters before he could free himself. In that brief dragging, his knee took a sharp blow against the ground, causing a ligament tear. The pain was such that he couldn't stand on his own. He was immediately taken to a hospital where surgery was confirmed as necessary. The injury kept him away from competitions for almost a year, but his return was met with massive applause from fans. Number 10. Colton Hevelo. Colton Hevelo, a young promise of American rodeo, had shown impressive talent since his first competitions. His energy and confidence seemed unshakable, but his encounter with one of the most aggressive bulls of the season changed his life. From the moment the gate opened, the bull launched a series of charges that defied any attempt at control. Colton managed to hold on for more than half of the required time, but an explosive jump combined with a sideways spin sent him directly into the metal fence. The impact was so strong it was heard throughout the venue. When he fell, the bull came back at him, hitting him in the back and causing multiple rib fractures, as well as a severe traumatic brain injury. The medical team acted quickly, preventing the situation from becoming worse. After months of rehabilitation, Colton returned to competitions, but with a much more conscious view of the risks he faced every time he got on a bull. The 10 accidents we have reviewed are not simple falls. They are extreme examples of how, in bull riding, the thin line between triumph and tragedy can be crossed in a matter of seconds. From veteran riders to young promises, all of them have experienced the brutality of this sport in its rawest form. In each case, the violence of the impacts, the unpredictability of the bulls, and the intensity of the arena have left physical and emotional scars that will never fade. Some managed to return stronger, others changed their style to prioritize safety, and a few considered leaving it all behind. But there is something that unites them all: the unbreakable passion for a sport that demands courage, endurance, and a will of steel. Bull riding does not forgive mistakes. Experience, fame, or talent do not matter, because one bad spin, an unexpected horn hit, or an unfortunate landing is enough to change everything. And yet, these men keep coming back to the arena, willing to face danger again and again. Perhaps that mix of madness and courage is what makes this sport so fascinating for those who watch it, and so lethal for those who live it.